Uh, I will introduce myself. I am Sajna Samad. For a few members who were with us for the past few sessions know me. Though I have not been doing supply chain sessions, I have been doing sessions on mindfulness and positivity. But still, I am a supply chain consultant to the core. So I have more than 10 years of experience. I'm a certified supply chain professional. I have been working with various organizations, helping my customers, more than 60 plus customers in the last 2 years, through their digital transformation journey. I'm also part of Oracle's Women Leadership Community, which is a community that's working towards creating a connected, inclusive, and inspiring workspace, especially giving more focus on creating women leaders. And finally, I have been very passionate about giving back to the community, because I believe that as professionals, it is our responsibility to share our knowledge and also give back to the community. And this is from one of the recent talks before COVID-19 shutdown started, in MIT University. It was about the same topic. So that is when Sami told me, "Oh, can you do some presentation? If any speakers can do any presentation in just 2 days, I was able to pull up this presentation and present it to you." So I have tried to tweak it a little bit more from a profession, because when I was presenting it to MIT, it were master students. So because you are already supply chain professionals, I have tried to tweak it a bit more for supply chain professionals like you. So what's all the buzz about? We have been hearing about all the disruptive technologies, all these technologies like IoT, artificial intelligence, blockchain, machine learning. All those buzzwords have been going around for quite a long period of time. So, what is all this buzz about? So, are we currently using these technologies in our real life, or is it just a buzzword? So, I would say no, it is not just a buzzword. It has been impacting our personal lives, not just only professional lives, but also personal lives for a very long time. Some of the examples: Google Maps, that's something everybody knows, how Google Maps is able to predict which is the fastest route for you, or able to identify the routes without tolls, etc., is using artificial intelligence or those kind of technologies. You might be familiar with chatbots. Aramic's chatbot is something most of us are familiar. I remember in one of the sessions, I think Shailen sir was mentioning about the Aramic's chatbot, where you can track your shipment. You can mention which address you have to deliver your parcels to. The chatbot will then tell you when the delivery will happen, if there is any change in the delivery schedule, etc. So these are some of the examples which we are very much aware of. Some of them which without us being aware, we are being monitored or tracked, is in many of the Google products, including YouTube, including Google Mail, Google Drive. So Google Drive, I would say, is a classic example of how a cloud would look like. A cloud, Google Drive is a cloud platform where you store all your documents on that platform, and you can access it from anywhere. Similarly, in YouTube, how does YouTube identify if you are having a copyright issue? So sometimes when you upload a video, how does YouTube identify that music is copyrighted? So again, YouTube is using artificial intelligence and machine learning kind of technologies, where a machine is behind the whole process and is trying to understand, okay, if this music is copyrighted, or if there is any adult content in the videos you're sharing. So these are some examples just to give you a gist of how these technologies is in our real life. This is something more close to home. This is a metro station. If you are a person who is using metro stations very frequently, you would have seen this in a few of the metro stations. The screen is basically a virtual shopping area, grocery shopping. Grocery shop, I would say. So you can pick and choose items, and then the items will be delivered to your doorstep by the time you reach back home. So this is happening in Dubai, not anywhere else. And then this is in Abu Dhabi. So this is in Galleria Mall in Abu Dhabi, where a person can try out clothes virtually. So this lady, she's trying to try out clothes virtually in a virtual style port. That's what they call it. So with COVID-19 crisis in place, where we are doing social distancing, where we can't try on clothes. So now, if you go to retail stores these days, you cannot try on clothes. So these kind of technologies would very soon be available. Very soon be available in many of our malls, many of our retail stores, if retail stores are still there, to try on clothes. Or probably it could be you sitting in front of your camera and you trying on clothes, or trying out clothes in front of your camera at home. It can be either ways. So this is just to give you a few examples of how technology is impacting our personal lives. Now, with COVID-19, we are, I would say, COVID-19 have accelerated digital transformation like never before. So if you look at how industries evolved in the past, this is how industrial transformation happened. So it started from agriculture, it was the industry 1.0, and that industry stayed for like, that was an industrial revolution for more than 150 years, I would say. So the industry revolution of agriculture was for a very long time. Then the industry 2.0 came in, where there were industries, new manufacturing units, new production units, the supply chain factories coming up. And that industrial revolution of industry 2.0 took around 75 years. It took a long period of time to get established and to be part of our lives. Now, when we look at industry 3.0, where information, how we utilize information, how we utilize data in our daily lives, it again took a lot of time. Now, what is happening now is now, or before it started few years back, but now it will be impacting our lives in a very quicker way, I would say, is the industry 4.0, where IoT, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, etc., is going to be part of our new normal, or our normal life. So with that being said, and that's why it's important to know, it's not important to know the technology in detail, it's not important to know the basic, the whole structure behind it, but you have to understand, when somebody tells you what is IoT, what is blockchain, what is artificial intelligence, you have to be able to understand how that particular technology can help you in your job. That's one thing. Second, you need to understand how it is going to impact you, because to some extent it can impact your careers. So it is very important for you to understand how it will impact your career, so that you can take the necessary step to make sure that you can overcome those challenges. So with that being said, I want to just set the expectations for the session. This session is not what would I say? I wouldn't get into the technology related details of IoT, blockchain, or AI, but I will help. I will stick to the basics. What is IoT? What is that technology? And then we will mostly discuss the supply chain use cases, how organizations are currently using these technologies, and how your organization, or how going forward organizations can actually use these technologies. I can take questions at end of each of the section. Like, so if I'm discussing about IoT at the end of each session, we can have a Q&A session, or after all the three technologies is discussed, we can then have a discussion. It's up to you. And a disclaimer, some of the examples I've used here is from Oracle videos, because I wanted to show you how the companies are using these technologies, and I didn't find any very powerful videos where I can show you with this in this short time. So I picked some Oracle videos to show you. That was totally my choice. It has nothing to do with Oracle. I'm not trying to sell any products of Oracle, but I'm just going to show you how these technology vendors have embedded these embedded IoT, AI, and blockchain into their solutions. It's not just Oracle, it's SAP, it's Microsoft. Every other vendor is trying to embed these disruptive technologies into their ERP so that supply chain professionals like you can start using it, on the fly. So I'm just showing you some examples from an Oracle point of view. So are we good so far? Okay, I'll take that as a yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll discuss Internet of Things and blockchain in detail. AI, I will stick to the use cases because I know one of our other members would be going into the details of AI in the next few sessions. But to complete that portfolio of the discussion, I will just discuss mostly the use cases in AI in specific. So we'll start with Internet of Things because I've been talking for so long. Let's hear from you. I'm sure that many of you know what is Internet of Things. So I would like any of you to just volunteer and tell me what is Internet of Things.
Good afternoon, all. Can I answer here? My name is Anas Muhammad.
Sure, you can.
So, to my knowledge, which is not extensive, Internet of Things can be described as a network of devices, mostly digital devices that's interconnected in a network, which can receive and send signals, communicate in between to serve a purpose. This could be as useful in personal use and professional use, and could be as simple as opening a door. For instance, for example, automatic doors, which opens itself, works based on sensors,
Okay.
and could go as complicated and sophisticated as like the new Tesla, new like modern cars. So I would say, in essence, they are like a series of devices which is interconnected in itself, and it's also connected to a major server.
Yes.
Or a parent devices wherein they exchanges data and work to improve our life overall.
That's great, Anas, because you kind of summarized everything what Internet of Things is. So you are spot on. What you mentioned is right. It is basically a network of devices speaking to itself. That network can be a public network where you have a whole city being connected over sensors and talking to each other, and that's what we call smart cities. Or it could be just your factory where all of your machines are talking to each other using sensors, or all of this data being centralized into a server where you take some decisions based on the data you collect from these machines. So yes, what you said is absolutely right. Thank you so much for that. So yes, so that's what Internet of Things is. Internet of Things is basically where you have your machines, or in supply chain context, it can be your production machinery have some sensors, and those sensors are connected to internet, and through the internet you can collect the data. So you might be sitting in your Dubai head office, your production facility might be in China, you can still monitor what is happening in your Chinese production facility by looking at a screen in front of you, where you can see, okay, this is how the production process is going on, what is the quality of the items, to that level of intricacies you can see from any part of the world. So that's basically what Internet of Things is. Where Internet of Things can be used in supply chain, I would say anywhere. So there is a story behind where the term Internet of Things the name got coined. I would say it was coined by somebody called Kevin Ashton in 1990, and he coined it basically. He was a scientist who was working towards supply chain business optimization. So he was looking at how can he optimize supply chain businesses. So we can be proud that Internet of Things was a coin termed in terms of supply chain first. Its application was in supply chain first, and then it started being used in other contexts. So yes, IoT can be used in different aspects in supply chain, from procurement to inventory. In inventory, it can be checking your inventory levels automatically and restocking your inventory. In logistics, it could be to monitor your fleet. From planning point of view, again, it could be triggering the planning of your items for a supply plan or for demand plan. For manufacturing, I already explained how the production facility can be monitored using the sensors attached to the production line, and then we can see how the production is progressing. We'll get into the details in short, but these are the different aspects where IoT can be utilized, even from a customer point of view. So, for example, when you walk into a mall, and in many of the malls here in Dubai, they ask you to switch on the Bluetooth, right? Because they based on the location where you are in the mall, they will be able to send you promotions to the stores close by. So I think Mall of the Emirates and some malls in Abu Dhabi, if you switch on your Bluetooth and you connect to the if you switch on your Bluetooth, the mall systems can automatically detect where you are in the mall and send you promotions from retail stores. So that's again use of Internet of Things. So IoT in supply chain, a very basic example is where you can use it from delivering items from a supplier to a manufacturing unit and then to a customer. There are different ways IoT can perform. It can be from the customer side when the items are loaded onto the truck. From that point, you can monitor how the whole process flows. So it can be from a truck to a plane, then from flight to a ship, whatever the mode of transport be. If you have sensors attached to and which can talk to each other through internet, you will be able to track them. Again, the reason now these kind of technologies are extremely popular is because with the introduction of cloud. Because previously collecting all of these data from sensors, it's huge amount of data. Collecting all of these data from sensors and storing it in your own servers was very costly, because you have to have that kind of server capacity. But now with cloud, the storage is much more cheaper, and now all the sensor information is moved onto the cloud, and all the processing of the information also happens in the cloud, which makes it much more faster. So that is one another point why these technologies, be it IoT, be it artificial intelligence, etc., are being more popular now with the advent of cloud. So another one important concept related to IoT within supply chain and other areas which I would like to discuss is called digital twin. So we mentioned that you can sit in Dubai and see what's happening in the production facility in China. How can you visualize that? So how can you have the production facility in China visualized on your screen? That is by creating a digital twin of your production facility in the platform. So in the system, whichever system you're utilizing for creating the digital twin, you will be creating a mock-up or a simulated environment of your production facility, and that simulated environment will tell you where exactly the production process will be. So that's the concept of digital twin. So let's just take a small look at a video which explains the concept of digital twin, and then you will get a better idea as well. So let me just play it. Let me know if you can hear. that's a digital twin is. It is basically creating a replica of your physical assets on a system, so that you can apply some scenarios, you can apply different conditions and see how it will impact your physical world. And then after that simulations are done, then you can directly apply onto the physical assets as well. So this was earlier devised for NASA. So what happened in NASA's research department? They faced a very difficult challenge because they can't travel beyond a particular limit, because they are doing space research. They can't travel beyond a limit and see and monitor everything physically. So what they decided was that they will create a digital twin of the physical object, the digital twin on their systems, and they will get all the real-time information, be it the temperature, be it the sensor, with how each of the equipments in the rocket is functioning, and then use this information to decide whether they have to change the course of the rocket, or if they have to change the course of or slow it down or speed it up. So they used the digital twin, which is basically using the IoT technology to in their Apollo 13 mission, for example. And then when other industries saw the implications, how it can be used in other industries like supply chain and healthcare, etc., they started implementing it in that industries as well. So another one use case for a digital twin point of view is like, how can you your facilities might be far away, your machines might be far away. How can you ensure that your machines are operating at its optimal level? How can you make sure that, okay, your maintenance activities should be triggered at the right time? So IoT will collect information from different equipments. The system will process it. You can use that processed information to take necessary decisions. It could be, okay, let's trigger the maintenance activity now, or let's slow down because we don't need it. We don't need any maintenance for the equipment for now. So using the data collected from the physical assets and visualizing it on the digital twin, you will be able to take the right kind of decisions that is required to optimize the whole supply chain, or whatever is a digital twin about. Do we have any questions here?
Yeah, Sanjana, I am Abhijit Devdar. I do have a question.
Sure.
Does the digital twin is a kind of 3D modeling, which is related to visualization part, or it does have real controls that if you do some adjustments here, it gets adjusted there? Because 3D
Yes.
model, no, because I have handled 3D modeling, where, because I used to have manufacturing plants at 6 different places, and I used to be an operations head. So,
Okay.
but then that was primarily to see myself, the situation, what it must have happened there. But I had no controls of doing things there. I'm talking about 2009, 2010
Right.
situation. I was based out of Netherlands that time. But am I today equipped with this system, that am I able to see beyond and do the actions here? That's what are you talking about? Digital
Exactly.
twin?
Yes, exactly. So yes, you said it right, actually. Yes, as a digital twin, you're not just able to visualize your systems, you are also able to take, okay, you're taking a decision saying that, okay, I have to do a maintenance for this particular equipment. You are able to trigger a maintenance activity. Either it could be sending out a work order to a technician, or it could be taking running some software upgrades on that equipment directly. It could be whatever action. You can sit in Dubai and take that action for that equipment back in China. So it's not just visualizing it. Yes, it's not. It's all about taking the actions from wherever you are. So that's how digital twins will help you. So yes,
Okay.
answer to the
Okay.
question is yes.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Because that's what I wanted to understand. Otherwise, because 3D modeling has been existing since long time. I've been handling it since 2008, 9.
Right, that's true. So what generally happens is that you generally upload these 3D models, especially in engineering and construction role. You upload these 3D models and then use that 3D models and collect the data from the sensors. Sensors will give you different information, and use that information to decide what kind of actions to take, and take the action on the system, which will be applied to the equipment or to the building or whatever it is. So that the power comes from being connected across, because before 3D modeling, it is just on paper. You're not connected to the physical asset. Now you're connected to the physical asset over the internet. You have sensors which can trigger actions based on your decisions.
Okay,
Okay,
clear. Thank you.
that's
Thank you,
great.
Sajna. Yeah.
That's great. So some of the examples, let me just go into some of the examples.
Sajna, there is one.
Sure.
Sajna, there is one more person called OnePlus 7 Pro. I don't know his name because they didn't put the name. So they had also upper hand, and also Kutubuddin Kabur. These two people are have query. You can ask them.
Sure, sure. Please go ahead, because I can't see who is
Yeah, I know
raising
that.
hands.
Mr. Kutubuddin, will you please go ahead with your question? Okay, let's move on. This is OnePlus 7 Pro. I mean, who is this? Hello. Okay, Sadhna, go ahead.
Okay,
Leave
great.
it. Go ahead.
So yes, okay, great. So some of the examples how technology partners or technology vendors like Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, etc., is integrating IoT into their supply chain systems is like this. So from an Oracle point of view, we have solutions where you can monitor your assets in real time. We can see the health of the assets. You can see the utilization of your assets, and also the availability. So for example, if your equipment, one of your equipment is not being utilized well, you can probably optimize its utilization by moving across different sites. And also it can do preventive maintenance, corrective maintenance. Collecting the information from the assets, you can take the right kind of decision. So ERP vendors are now integrating IoT into their ERP, so that it will be easier for different functions, like the maintenance function, the supply chain function, the production function, all of that functions to work together and be it servicing the asset or being maintaining the asset. Similarly, in production monitoring, as mentioned earlier, you will be able to monitor the whole production line, see how your production line is functioning, whether any machine needs maintenance, whether there are any quality issues for the items. Again, it could be integrated with your quality results from your quality team. So your whole supply chain is connected onto one single platform, and different departments involved in the production line. It could be quality, it could be an inspection team, it could be suppliers who are bringing in the raw materials. All of that information can be utilized to ensure that your whole production line is optimized and performing in optimal level as it should be. Fleet monitoring for your transportation. You can have different sensors attached to your transportation, your trucks, and then you can monitor how what is the temperature, because some of the food, be it in consumer goods or food and beverage, it's very important, or in medicines, it's very important to monitor the temperature of the products during transit. That is a very challenging issue generally, because you don't have control on it. Probably it might be a 3PL partner who might be operating the truck, but if the truck is embedded with sensors, it can be integrated back into your system, where you can monitor the temperature, the pressure, and all of that, to ensure that the product quality is maintained throughout the transit. Connected worker, again, this is specifically in construction, construction industry, or in industries where it is necessary for the workers to be suited up in a right way to ensure their safety. So if you're going into a nuclear plant, you have to have a face mask, you have to have a particular suit. So connected worker is another application of IoT where the doors will not open for the worker unless the all the sensors from the suit sends out information that okay, everything is fine, he is ready to enter, otherwise the doors won't open, for example. So these are different ways how IoT is being integrated into your ERP system, your basic ERP systems of procurement, manufacturing and maintenance, to ensure that you as users will be able to utilize these applications on a day-to-day basis. So just to give you again one example of just to simulate one example of how that works. Also, from a digital twin point of view, it is also called augmented reality or virtual reality, which might be much more familiar to you, where you can see an augmented you can hold an iPad in front of your production facility and can see how read the sensor data from that production facility and see what's exactly happening. So this is an example. I will just run it for you.
A virtual factory is creating tablets. A physical factory is loading candy, representing boxes of tablets, onto trucks. The simulated sensors and real sensors feed into IoT production monitoring cloud, monitoring all the machines in the production process. The virtual factory is projected onto the tabletop using augmented reality. This demonstrates the real-world use case where you might want to project a distant factory onto your boardroom table and monitor its production status. You can tap on markers representing machines and monitor the live data represented by the digital twin. The delivery truck is controlled by Bluetooth connected to IoT Cloud. It sends its speed, position and battery level to the IoT Cloud and then receives actions to set the speed or lane. It is driven by an attendee via a touchscreen. The truck's speed, location and other telemetry are monitored by IoT Fleet Monitoring Cloud, which monitors if deliveries are on time and captures violations like speeding. When the driver presses the load button on the touchscreen, the truck is driven in autopilot mode to the loading dock and parked. When it has arrived, it notifies the factory via IoT Cloud to start the loading procedure. An empty pallet is moved into position ready for the candy. The candy is then dispensed onto the conveyor. At the end of the conveyor, it slides down into the empty waiting pallet. The loaded pallet is then moved into position to be picked up by the grabber. The grabber moves the pallet over the truck and places it on the back of the truck. The truck is then informed via IoT Cloud that it is ready to leave. It drives out of the loading dock and control is restored from automatic to the driver. The physical factory's IoT data can be overlaid over physical machines in augmented reality. A factory manager or maintenance worker can walk through a real factory with an iPad using augmented reality to give an X-ray-like experience showing live data of what's going on inside each machine, along with the metrics that can show when a machine needs its next maintenance.
Yeah, so if you notice, this is basically the digital twin of the factory. So they are able to see what's happening within the factory, what is the temperature, what is the glue level, whatever you want to monitor based on the sensors, you can see that information, and then you can use that information to take decisions and also to push decisions back into the factory area. So I just want to share this example with you so you can just visualize how it looks and how it can help you in IoT can help you in general to monitor your assets, be it in production, in your fleet, or in terms of a worker. So this is basically the IoT part which I wanted to discuss. If we don't have any questions, then we can move forward to the AI part. If you have any questions so far from an IoT point of view, we can take it here now.
Yeah, Sajna, I'm sorry. I have one question. I think the same question most of us will have in their mind at this point.
Yes.
It's sort of a pessimistic idea because, I mean, we all know IoT has been, the talk has been with us for like almost, I think it's coined in 2000, right? So it's almost been 20 years. So the one thing I think it's simply been its way, it's the security issue.
Yes.
Since we all know all things, all these digital things, I mean, all digital devices are being connected to the internet and all this information is stored somewhere. There's definitely a challenge of security, right? So I don't think we can move forward without addressing this particular issue head on, because we know that it's, I mean, even though most of our systems we operate today has completely like been really protected with great transcriptions, but if we are expanding this digital, I mean, devices, like anybody can hack into your, for instance, baby monitor, or your, for instance, like a smart refrigerator. These things are very easy to hack into. So the information stored in the devices that's part of the IoT could be,
Mm-hmm.
used for digital theft, malpractice, and for, I mean, industry competition, all those things. So do you have any information on how to tackle or what's the correct response towards this particular concern?
Consent. Yes, actually, this is one of the main questions we get from most of our customers, especially not just from IoT point of view, even from cloud point of view. Like our customers ask, government customers, banks, they ask, how do you secure our data? Because government information, the bank information especially, those are very sensitive information which shouldn't be shared with competitors or whatever it be. So the answer, the response we have a specific team who gives a response from a security point of view, but I will just summarize it in short. So from an Oracle point of view and all the other technology vendors like Amazon, Oracle, Microsoft, and SAP, the topmost players at least, whenever they talk about cloud, they also implement the right kind of security protocols. So for example, I would say your server on your premise, on inside your company, is more prone to hackers than a cloud which is being monitored and 24 by 7 by a multinational organization like Oracle, Microsoft, Amazon, or SAP. Because that's the kind of, for them, first, the credibility is very important. If their systems get hacked, that's a credibility point. Second, they have technology and they also have the resources who is invested on a regular basis to ensure that the systems are not hacked. So from a security point of view, I would go back and ask you, are you sure that your on-premise servers or on-premise systems are security proof? I would say no. Compared to the cloud, which the top vendors provide, I would say I can say no, it is not, because they have the resources, they have the money, they have the ability to ensure that their servers are protected in the way they have to be. That's one thing. Second, from what happens generally in the servers in your IT department, you will have a database administrator who will identify probably that there is a security threat, or probably you might get notified by the government that there is some hacking going on. Please apply some patches. There is still a delay for the database administrator as a human being to respond and apply those patches, apply those security patches, which should be provided by the respective vendor, and to do it. Now on cloud, what happens is generally they use AI technology to identify security threats. This machine identifies security threats automatically. They don't have to wait for anybody to respond or tell you that there is a security threat. The system identifies automatically, and it's able to now create, with Oracle's new autonomous database, which is an AI powered database, they're able to identify what is the patch that needs to be applied, and the machine in itself can apply the patch. So that's the level of security where these top vendors are looking at to secure their cloud. So that's why I can confidently say, from a security point of view, Yes, there could still be hackers who can hack into it, but it will be much more safer than your on-premise system comparatively. That's my answer to your question. Second, one more point I would like to add. Second question generally we get asked by our customers is that how can we ensure that Oracle doesn't steal our data or Microsoft doesn't steal our data because it's on their cloud? Again, even though the data is on Oracle servers, it is encrypted and it is locked using a key which you have with you. Unless you provide the key to that particular that server, Oracle or any other vendor will not be able to access that data. So we cannot share, any vendor cannot share your information with anybody else unless you give that encryption key to the vendor, and then they will be able to use that key to decrypt it. So that's the answer I can give you. But yes, your concern is right.
Oh, okay, I have a small follow-up question to this.
Sure.
So you're talking about like I mean the top companies can afford to have great security infrastructure to ensure the security, right? I mean, is this security measures applied to all the digital devices that connects to this platform itself, or is it just to the cloud storage or their servers? For instance, if the IoT is connected with hundreds of thousands of digital devices, right? For instance, your factory equipment.
Yes.
You said vehicles, transport systems, our appliances in our home. So are these same security measures are applied to all those single digital devices? I mean, if it's not the case, I mean that would be a cause for concern, right? Because it would be much, yeah. And that's basically my question.
Yes, I got your question. Yes, so yeah, the answer is generally if it is all of these top vendors, they have specific sensor vendors they work with, like Cisco, Huawei, all of these top-notch sensor vendors whom they work with, whom they partner together and ensure that security is taken care. So it is a sensor, the vendors who provide the sensors, who provide the security aspects also for those kind of security issues. What if if somebody else can read from the sensors directly rather than from the cloud? So yes, your question, the answer to your question is yes, those vendors actually have security measures to ensure that their sensors are not tampered with. Most of the vendors like Cisco, Huawei, there are a few other vendors. There are 20 plus vendors whom these companies work with, which have their security measures considered before they start working together with. But again, at the end of the day, it's up to the customer to use which sensor vendor. All the ERP systems are agnostic sensors. They can use any sensors, but we say that it is better you use these sensors because they are already security certified. But yes, it is possible if you use sensors which are not properly secured, that your data can leak or can be hacked.
Thanks a lot. That answered most of my questions.
You're welcome, Anas. Okay, so for the sake of time, can I move forward? I will move into AI. So, sorry. Okay, so I will not go into actually AI is a big topic to discuss. So I won't go into the details because we are having a follow-up session from one of our members in the next few weeks. So I won't go into the details of what AI and machine learning and deep learning everything is. Because he will be discussing it. But basically, artificial intelligence, the basic thing you have to understand is in artificial intelligence, you are using machines to behave as humans to some extent. You are training machines to behave as humans to some extent. For example, the Siri you use or Alexa you use is classic examples of artificial intelligence. The Google vendor or Apple or Amazon is training a machine to talk like a human being, to respond to your questions like a human being, and to take necessary actions like a human being. So that's basically, in very simple term, what's artificial intelligence is. Is AI a new concept? No, it's been here for very long time. It's been more than now 50 to 70 years. There have been scenarios where AI have been used to mimic human behavior. Then recently we started using a subset of artificial intelligence called machine learning, where computers can learn by itself. So previously we had to program the computer or program the machine to behave in a certain way. Now computers can learn by itself using the data or over Google, over the internet. It can use that data and learn by itself how to respond to specific situations. And again, the new concept of artificial intelligence is called deep learning, where you are using the machine learning capability for specific use cases. So for example, whether as a user, can you predict when your next equipment maintenance should be scheduled, based on how the temperature, how the pressure, how all of those factors vary, and how those various factors have impacted the shutdown of an equipment in the historical, as per the historical data. Now machines can predict, saying that okay, this equipment will shut down in next 2 days because there is a lot of temperature and pressure variations, for example. Similarly, there are different use cases of artificial intelligence in supply chain, also in different areas. So one of them is prediction. How can you use your historical data, even for your planning? Very classic example. Whether I can plan based on my historical data, based on my sales forecast, based on my marketing data, combining all of this data, can I predict how much I have to produce next week? That's an amazing way to use, to say the application of AI. How whether machine can tell me what decision to take. So for example, based on my marketing, sales, and my supply information, I have to create 100 tons of a product A in the next 1 week. Can this machine tell me I have to procure X tons of raw materials? Can it suggest me the decisions I have to take to make sure that outcome can be achieved? Yes, AI can help you on that. And finally, automate. So even the decision process can be automated. If you allow the system to take decisions, that can be done as well. So some of the use cases we have seen is one very famous use case is how to prevent fraud detection, how to prevent fraud in credit cards. So based on your spending behavior, when your spending behavior changes, AI is now able to predict whether you will go into a credit limit issues, or whether you will be able to go into credit issues, and it tells the banks that probably you have to reduce your credit limits with this particular person. AI extremely helps banks to ensure that their credit frauds can be prevented. Or not only from your credit card usage, also based on whether you have closed down your business, whether you have booked a flight to some other place. All of that information, based on the information influx into the system, the machines are now able to predict the fraud. Risk modeling, especially in coronavirus situation, we have seen a lot of use cases of scenario modeling. How can I predict how my manufacturing should be based on the COVID-19 situation? Artificial intelligence helps you with that. So there are tools which can help you in scenario modeling to model different scenarios. Okay, COVID-19 is one aspect. What is the other aspect? Should I move into another product? I have been manufacturing the shield of my for automotive or automobiles. So far, the windshield. Should I move into creating masks, or the shield, or the face shield? You would have noticed that many automobile companies, because now they can't produce cars because cars are not being consumed by the consumers as of now, they have moved into producing face shields, because they have to anyway run their business. Their manufacturing units cannot go into shutdowns. They, to survive, they are modeling different scenarios and to identify different business models. Demand forecasting, which we explained already. Predictive maintenance, we discussed about how you can predict the maintenance requirements of an asset based on how the historical information and how that historical information have resulted in a shutdown in the last few months or years. Next best action, system can predict, saying that, okay, let's take the example of maintenance. System can say that, okay, your equipment have been maintained at every month. You are doing a preventive maintenance. You are changing the oil for your particular equipment every month. System, based on its information, it can say that you don't have to do it every month. You can probably extend it to 1 month and 2 weeks, because the oil, even if you're changing the oil frequently, even if you extend it a little bit more, it's not going to impact the performance of your machine. So all of this information, all of these predictions, the machines are able to give you based on the historical data, based on looking at the trends in the historical data. So that's the prediction aspect of AI. How to make decisions. So as I think Mr. Ansh asked, or somebody else asked, okay, I do 3D modeling already, but what is can I make decisions on that based on the input I get? Yes. So that's again the whole concept of integrating all your functions, your maintenance function, your production function, your factories all together. And system is now able to tell you, this particular machine will shut down in a day if you don't do preventive maintenance now. And with a click of a button, you are able to trigger a work order to a field service agent who will go and do the activity within a day. So based on the learning, and also the system is able to predict what kind of maintenance you have to do. Probably there are different kinds of maintenance you do. System is able to predict your oil levels are low, so you have to do oil maintenance, not the other one, not the gear change. So that's the kind of decision making recommendations AI can give you and make your life so much more easier based on the previous information. Customer insight, operational insight, again, how I can use AI to identify what is my customer looking for, what is my how should be my operations optimized. Probably I don't have to procure from this per supplier, I have to procure from the other supplier because he is much more cheaper with better quality. So the power of all these technologies comes from an integrated system. So it's very important you have an integrated platform of procurement from supply chain point of view, procurement, maintenance, inventory, um, production, manufacturing, all of these core functions. Once it's integrated, and over on top of it, you have these technologies, it will make your life so much more easier from a decision making perspective. And again, once the system can predict the decision, it can even automate them. So there are different kinds of AI enabled digital applications which can based on the for example, they predicted that, okay, you have to do this particular preventive maintenance. Even without your yes or no, system can automatically go and trigger the work order to the agent if you allow them to do it. Similarly, based on the anomalies, so we mentioned about the security, right? We mentioned about how can I ensure my database is secure. So what they do is systems are monitoring on a continuous basis, and if they see any hacker trying to hack in, if there is any anomaly or any kind of abnormal situations happening, it tries to shut down the system, or it tries to close down the system and apply the patches that is required. So these are different ways artificial intelligence is helping you in predictions, decision making, and automation. So this is the AI part. Do we have any questions so far? If not, I will move into blockchain. Okay, so I'll take it as a no. I will move into blockchain. Okay, so blockchain, I know it's again a very overused term. Can anybody explain to me what they know about blockchain in general, or any use case you have come across, a very famous use case you see from a blockchain point of view.
Mining of digital coins.
Yes, mining of digital coins. Bitcoins is what actually made blockchain so famous. Yes, that's the right use case which everybody can relate to. So let's discuss first what blockchain is. So blockchain is basically used for different, not just for mining of digital coins. We'll get into that point why it is being used for as digital currency. That's one aspect to it. But other use cases comes into counterfeiting, how to how to increase the traceability, the visibility aspect in supply chain, etc. So let's just take a quick look at a video, because explaining blockchain it's a little bit complex process. So I would like you to see this video, and then we can discuss about blockchain. That will make it much more easier for both of us. So
blockchains are incredibly popular nowadays. But what is a blockchain? How do they work? What problems do they solve? And how can they be used? Like the name indicates, a blockchain is a chain of blocks that contains information. This technique was originally described in 1991 by a group of researchers and was originally intended to timestamp digital documents so that it's not possible to backdate them or to tamper with them, almost like a notary. However, it went by mostly unused until it was adapted by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009 to create the digital cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Now, a blockchain is a distributed ledger that is completely open to anyone. They have an interesting property. Once some data has been recorded inside a blockchain, it becomes very difficult to change it. So how does that work? Well, let's take a closer look at a block. Each block contains some data, the hash of the block, and the hash of the previous block. The data that is stored inside the block depends on the type of blockchain. The Bitcoin blockchain, for example, stores the details about a transaction in here, such as the sender, receiver, and the amount of coins. A block also has a hash. You can compare a hash to a fingerprint. It identifies a block and all of its contents, and it's always unique, just as a fingerprint. Once a block is created, its hash is being calculated. Changing something inside the block will cause the hash to change. So in other words, hashes are very useful when you want to detect changes to blocks. If the fingerprint of a block changes, it no longer is the same block. The third element inside each block is the hash of the previous block. And this effectively creates a chain of blocks, and it's this technique that makes a blockchain so secure. Let's take an example. Here we have a chain of 3 blocks. As you can see, each block has a hash and the hash of the previous block. So block number 3 points to block number 2, and number 2 points to number 1. Now the first block is a bit special. It cannot point to previous blocks because, well, it's the first one. We call this block the Genesis block. Now, let's say that you tamper with the second block. This causes the hash of the block to change as well. In turn, that will make block 3 and all following blocks invalid because they no longer store a valid hash of the previous block. So changing a single block will make all following blocks invalid. But using hashes is not enough to prevent tampering. Computers these days are very fast and can calculate hundreds of thousands of hashes per second. You could effectively tamper with a block and recalculate all the hashes of other blocks to make your blockchain valid again. So to mitigate this, blockchains have something that is called proof of work. It's a mechanism that slows down the creation of new blocks. In Bitcoin's case, it takes about 10 minutes to calculate the required proof of work and add a new block to the chain. This mechanism makes it very hard to tamper with the blocks, because if you tamper with one block, you'll need to recalculate the proof of work for all the following blocks. So the security of a blockchain comes from its creative use of hashing and the proof of work mechanism. But there is one more way that blockchains secure themselves, and that is by being distributed. Instead of using a central entity to manage the chain, blockchains use a peer-to-peer network and everyone is allowed to join. When someone joins this network, he gets a full copy of the blockchain. The node can use this to verify that everything is still in order. Now, let's see what happens when someone creates a new block. That block is sent to everyone on the network. Each node then verifies the block to make sure that it hasn't been tampered with. And if everything checks out, each node adds this block to their own blockchain. All the nodes in this network create consensus. They agree about what blocks are valid and which aren't. Blocks that are tampered with will be rejected by other nodes in the network. So, to successfully tamper with a blockchain, you'll need to tamper with all the blocks on the chain, redo the proof of work for each block, and take control of more than 50% of the peer-to-peer network. Then will your tampered block become accepted by everyone else. So this is almost impossible to do. Blockchains are also constantly evolving. One of the most recent developments is the creation of smart contracts. These contracts are simple programs that are stored on the blockchain and can be used to automatically exchange coins based on certain conditions. More on smart contracts in a later video. The creation of blockchain technology piqued a lot of people's interest. Soon others realized that this technology could be used for other things, like storing medical records, creating a digital notary, or even collecting taxes. So now you know what a blockchain is, how it works on a basic level, and what problems it solves. Want to learn how you can implement a simple blockchain in JavaScript?
Basically, a blockchain, the video kind of explains what is a blockchain, why is it called a chain of blocks, because they are connected, interconnected with the hashes of the previous block. Why it should be a distributed ledger, because once the blocks are distributed across multiple, it's not just 5 or 6 people, but millions of computers across the world, you will not be able to easily to tamper with. So that makes the blockchain impossible to tamper with. And the use of blockchain in different contexts. Do we have any questions here? Okay, so before we look at the use cases of blockchain, let's look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of blockchain.
Then check out this video here. And as always, thank you very much for.
Okay. So the advantages of blockchain is basically you can eliminate the third parties. So for example, now we are using banks to transact. We will not have to use banks to transact once the digital currencies, we start using digital currencies, once it becomes the major source of currency, then you will not have to use third parties, because third parties are generally used to ensure that that third party is responsible for ensuring that the two parties would abide by the rules. For example, in case of letter of credit, you generally have the bank in between to issue the letter of credit to the supplier to ensure that they would actually supply the items to you, and the buyer would pay the supplier as agreed. So once the transactions becomes over blockchain, you would not need a third party to do the validation to ensure that that kind of validations, because now the blockchain stores that information, stores that agreement between the supplier and the buyer, and if the buyer does not abide by, then the supplier can go into legal things once it becomes legal. So again, it increases the reliability, trust level, and security. It also empowers the users, because now they have the ability to control the kind of transactions they want to do over blockchain. Again, there are privacy issues. Yes, as we discussed earlier, based on the network kind of network you are using, there could be privacy issues and governance issues, because now there are still no any kind of legal regulations or legal frameworks on how blockchain can be effectively used. Slowly, once the usage of blockchain becomes more frequent, I'm sure that different in Dubai, we have started to have the blockchain aspect into the government frameworks, but not in every country. So not every country have how blockchain should be used, whether it should be considered legal, etc., is not been embedded in the legal frameworks yet. And from an energy consumption point of view, yes, it consumes, it actually affects the carbon footprint, and that is also one another reason blockchain is not very widely used so far, because the energy required to manage the millions of computers, the millions of peers in the network is actually quite energy consuming. So that's an advantage and disadvantages of blockchain. Slowly, technology vendors are getting to the blockchain space. One of the most frequent use cases, very recent use cases we have in supply chain is the track and trace. How you can track and trace your product. So for example, the Samsung batteries exploding on flights was one of the key triggers of using why track and trace became very prominent topic of discussion, where if a supplier, if a vendor like Samsung, as big as as big as Samsung can get into issues because of one product which is malfunctioning, that's when supply chain track and trace became a very prominent point of discussion. So there are solutions which are being developed now for supply chain track and trace. What happens in that solution is that all the peers, again, this is a closed network. It is not a public network where everybody can join. It is a closed network where only the supply partners, the partners and the trading partners will be on the system. So, for example, the supplier, the customer, the manufacturer, the first-hand supplier, the second-hand supplier, all the supplier network will be on the system. Also the transit partner, etc. And every single partner would update the blockchain with their transactional records. For example, if it is supplier, he will update it once the item have been produced, what is the quality inspection reports. On the blockchain, they will update when the delivery has been scheduled, when the delivery will be done, and that information will be pushed to the 3PL partner if they are involved. Then the 3PL partner will track the complete movement of the items across different continents, the temperature, pressure, etc., and will update on the blockchain to ensure that the quality of the product is not compromised. And once the 3PL partner hands it over to the buyer again updates all the inspection results and everything all on the blockchain. Again, how it helps when the buyer like Samsung is producing millions of units, they are able to track from a unit what was the lot of the product which was delivered to them. For example, the battery, what is the lot number, from which supplier it came from, through which 3PL partner it came from, whether it was a supplier issue or whether it was supplier issue. So all the complete supply chain track and trace can be tracked over a blockchain and can be maintained to ensure the product genealogy aspect of it. So this is basically one of the use cases of blockchain, which many of the vendors in supply chain, which many of the technology vendors are getting into, because this is a key area of focus for supply chain professionals. Other areas we have is in blockchain and retail. If you have seen blood diamond, you would know how important it is to verify the source of diamonds, the diamond verification, to ensure there is no the source of the diamonds are not from the mines from Cuba or from African countries where there are issues or legal issues, or if there is a fraud in the in the diamond trade. Again, blockchain is used to ensure the source and the product genealogy of diamonds. Ownership and attribution, again, from a notary point of view. From now, as I understand, in Dubai, going forward, all the real estate properties would be on or registered on blockchain to ensure the ownership would be tracked and traced. Supply chain transparency, which we discussed already, and again, pharmaceuticals for luxury items. These are the sectors, industries in supply chain. There are lots of malpractices. There are lots of no transparency in terms of whether those medicines are actually medicines or placebos. So all of that information can be stored on blockchain by different partners to ensure that whatever product they are manufacturing or providing to the buyer is of the highest quality. Other use cases, there are some there are financial use cases, there are non-financial use cases, but just in general, in supply chain, what we discussed, supply chain track and trace is one of the major use cases which we see today, and where ERP vendors are getting into. Real estate is one which we already discussed. Electronics is another one. Also from land ownership point of view, from gold and silver. So all of these are different use cases for blockchain in terms of supply chain as well as other industries. Do we have any questions here?
Sajna?
Yes, Faisal.
Yeah. First of all, like highly appreciate the way you move forward. It's really nice. Okay.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, like in case of disputes between supply chain partners, irrespective,
yes.
I mean, especially in the case of blockchain, who is going to be the governing authority? Like just to know if you can.
By governing authority, do you mean the legal
exactly
governance?
Like in case of disputes, who is going to handle or who is going to be the ultimate authority on this?
Okay, so that again comes back to the legal frameworks in the country the particular organization is operating. So for example, if you let me take the example of Jumbo Electronics. So if Jumbo Electronics is ensuring that all of their products needs to be sourced ethically and sourced legally from different countries, and Jumbo Electronics would be owner of the blockchain. So they are the owners of the blockchain. They are the ones who are monitoring the blockchain and ensuring that they get all the right kind of information and also the documents. So how would you identify the authenticity of the raw materials? You will be asking for the suppliers to update which is the PO of the raw materials, the documents, the legal documents, which says that this is clear to be used in that particular electronic equipment. So at the end of the day, the blockchain ownership lies with the organization that runs the blockchains. For example, Jumbo Electronics is the one who is owning the blockchain. They are the ones who is responsible for the running of the blockchain. But from a legal point of view, the legalities in that particular country is what applies, and also the country where the supplier is what applies. And that's exactly why I mentioned earlier that blockchain is still not extensively used, because in many countries we still don't have legal frameworks which accepts blockchain as the updates on the blockchain as a legal record for any legal disputes. But many of the countries are moving into that space with all of what's happening. They are slowly embedding and creating legal frameworks for use of these technologies. So in Dubai, in UAE, blockchain is considered to be is part of the legal framework, because we have started using it in government and other entities. But it depends on the country you're operating.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Okay.
Hi, this is Sanjay. I have
Okay,
a question.
Yes, sorry, Sanjay, please continue.
Yeah, see, for example, when suddenly we are jumping into this blockchain part, okay, our history is pretty much, haphazard. Means we don't know, because as per my understanding, blockchain starts from one main structure and works all the way back. When you, what do you do for the past historical data? How do you bring that into the blockchain?
By historical, sorry, can you?
For
just,
example, we have our conventional methods of working.
Yes.
We work back to back on reliability and trust and other basis. And later, now you're maybe tomorrow you're planning to shift yourself into blockchain. So which will, as a Samsung, or for example, I am from a Samsung, so I basically jump into now blockchain. So past history, like how will I be able to that into this blockchain field? Because blockchain, as I understand, it's basically a strings of connecting network being, which will help you to better understand where to improve and where not to focus much on, and so that it is distributed all over. And I'm told there is one single owner who does that. So I just wanted to get a thought on the historical data. How do you try to put that in blockchain space?
So if I may just rephrase your question, just correct me if I'm wrong. So you want to understand how you want to you want to understand how, for example, if you're starting to use blockchain from today, how you can ensure that your old historical data is uploaded onto blockchain, right? Is that what you're asking? I will have to check it out, because what I understand so far from blockchain point of view is for your transactions going forward, because as you clearly mentioned, it is not a single ownership. It is the different partners in the supply chain which updates their information onto the blockchain. So if they are ready to update that information onto the blockchain, and then you can use it, fair enough. But that's a huge amount of data which will go onto the blockchain. It might not have all the paperwork you have done so far on to move it onto the blockchain. It might be a hideous task, but it's not impossible. But I'll have to check whether that's the right kind of practice to have all. Probably a 6 months data would still make sense. I don't know whether 3 years, 4 years data would make sense to put it onto blockchain, unless you will have that kind of, because for many of the items.
Yeah, just to simplify, because in Dubai, UAE, VAT and other terms are concerned, they expect us to keep minimum of 5 years of data back. So ideally, if I have to trace back, then it will be a hideous task, as I am dependent on very much on my ERP and system. Now, if I want to put myself into blockchain, how do I bring that in place so that I can trace back things? That's my question.
Yes, I understand. So I will check and get back to you on that. I'm not very sure about it. If that's okay, I'll reply to you back on. Are you on the chat, on the Telegram
Yes,
chat,
I am
right?
very much aware.
Yeah. So I will check and I'll get back to you, Sanjay, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Sanjay, for that question.
Thank you.
So, Sanjana, good evening. This is Anshuman here.
Yes, Anshuman.
You had a good presentation all over. I wanted to have my questions at the back. So, do you think that this artificial intelligence is going to resolve these bullwhip effect and all this SNOP process, or is it really working in the sales and operation process, and also to deliver or to guide the MRP, so that they will be able to do automatic MRP runs and evaluate a real-time scenarios? And also on the risk management, let me just add all to it so that you can let me put it directly, like how are they going to do this risk? Are they going to do the Monte Carlo scenarios to evaluate what could be the probability based on, or how is it going to happen?
Yes, so as you clearly mentioned, so your first question was, yes, in SNOP planning, in demand planning, the supply planning, we have now solutions where artificial intelligence is able to predict and recommend the right kind of sourcing method, whether you have to supply it, whether you have to create a procurement order, whether you have to create a transfer order, or whether you have to go and manufacture. Whatever is the decision which needs to be taken based on the planning.
So do you think that these demand planners or this demand cycle, because SNOP includes a lot of inputs from different things. So do you think,
Yes.
is it possible to to configure all artificial intelligence can really do it in a very accurate way by which there will not be any bullwhip effect, or really capturing the data from the post data, and and different covering the inputs
Yes.
from the various channel, sales channel, and able to populate it?
Yeah, so that is why I mentioned that when your system is integrated, if you're that's why every
No, but
we
I'm asking you particularly this question particularly to you, because you have been connected with Oracle.
Yes.
Do you have any company, or any, you don't need to name the company, but have they been really been successfully been doing it over a period of time in this present scenarios? Because this is why, because artificial intelligence has been practically has a very limited scope, particularly as you said, related to maintenance, related to fleet tracking and other things, but not to the seniority level as you've been talking about, like demand planning, SNOP process, because SNOP is a very big part of the supply chain. As you are already into supply chain, you already know that
Yes.
SNOP sits into the heart of the entire industry.
Yes.
If your SNOP things goes wrong, it can even have a turbulence effect in your PNL and everywhere.
Right. So that's exactly what I was coming to. So first, it comes from the data sources. So if your data sources are integrated into your SNOP, so from your sales data, from your marketing data, from your financials, your supply data, what your inventory, all of that information once fed into your system, then based on the historical information. So generally what we tell our customers, whoever is moving into Oracle Cloud for the first time, we'll tell them, let's not do the planning module implementation for now, because the planning module to SNOP planning module to predict, right, it needs historical information. Either you have to
So,
load your historical
Sanjana, it is
information.
not only historical information, because sometimes you business scenarios keep changing.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
even if I have been having a because I come from the FMCG business, and also I'm presently connected to this one. See, it's there could be volatilities in a particular year which is impacting the macro sphere, where historical data may not be able to give me a real life data. So
Yes.
then the whole purpose of artificial intelligence is defeated, because artificial intelligence should be able to the whole objective of artificial intelligence is again human brains is on top of everything. But again, the whole objective of artificial intelligence is to make sure that the errors, mistakes are taken care of.
Yes, so that's what I was just explaining, the data sources, and I will come to what your point, which is actually right. So one source of data is your historical information. One source of data is your real-time information. So once your systems are integrated, you have real-time information about, okay, if your sales plan is changing, automatically it will reflect here on your SNOP saying that your sales plan have changed. It was 10%. They are going to run a new marketing campaign for 10% promotion on one particular product. That will increase your spike up your requirements. Their expectation of the sales is that it will spike up the requirements by 100 orders per month, for example.
Yeah.
That information also will be, it's not just historical, because historical can be based on trends. That's not
Yes,
just,
yes, yes.
but
That's a
also the
trend only.
real. Exactly. So the real-time information. So it's a combination of everything. So it's historical plus probably you might have ran a similar campaign for a similar product last year in the same months.
So
That can be considered.
it's like a simulation. They will be taking in similar simulations in it.
It can be similar. Yes, the Monte Carlo simulations, there are different kinds of simulations that run. And it also considers real-time information. It considers your real-time supply. So in real time, generally SNOP happens every month, or that's what
But
we generally do.
are you sharing anything of your experience from
Yes.
your live
Customers.
customers, where they have really been benefited using these artificial intelligence into the SNOP plan? Because
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not able to recall the customer name,
No,
but
you
I
don't need to give
remember,
me the name of the
yes.
customer, because obviously on this kind of platforms, I will definitely not ask you to share the customer's name as a matter of intellectual property. But
Yeah,
yes,
we have some customer references which we can share. I will get that to you. But yes, your answer to your question is yes. We do have huge supply chain vendors who are using our demand and supply and S&OP planning solutions to ensure that their productions are, previously they used to have a lot of food wastage
yeah,
because their production was not in the right, this bullwhip effect, which you clearly mentioned, that was affecting them. They were overproducing. They were losing a lot of food that's being produced. Now they're able to cut down their production in the right way and cut down, no, sorry, not cut down their production, cut down their wastage.
yeah,
Uh,
actually, reduction of waste. Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. We do have real life examples where yes, the manufacturers Lee Destry Foods. It's a food production. They produce ketchups and different kinds of consumer food consumables, which is actually, which are very low shelf life as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they were able to, yeah. So yes, the answer to your question is yes.
So it is possible. It's possible.
Yes,
But
it
the
is
only thing is
possible.
that it needs a lot of integration to the POS data and other things. Yeah, that's what.
Yes, because see, AI works on data. The amount of data you have, not just data, it should be accurate data. That
Yeah,
is where AI works on, and real-time data. So, which when you clearly mentioned, historical data has a limitation, but you also need to have real-time data.
real time data.
What is the production capacity? What is being produced now in my manufacturing unit? Based on that, I have to predict what I need for the next week. So that's the kind of predictions AI can do.
And regarding the risk management, do you think that they capture they do the simulation based on the Monte Carlo or some
Yes,
other?
it's not just Monte Carlo. They have different simulations. There are different algorithms they use.
Oh.
Uh, five or eight different kinds of simulation algorithms they use based on the scenario as well.
But yes, as you said, risk can also be mitigated through
Exactly.
the artificial intelligence. Anyway,
Yes,
thank
yes.
you. And it's a very good extensive topic that you have covered. The three parts, the IoT, Internet of Things, and also the blockchain. Yes, as you said, the regulations have not really given us a green ahead of it. But yes, some people, some organizations have actually implemented it in a very, it's like a pilot one. So hopefully we look forward that yes, we can have a regulatory green ahead for this. But
Yes.
well, as far as India and many other countries is concerned, they are skeptical because of the security issues and other things, and
Right.
also the investment required particularly for this.
Yeah, that's the major part. So as we mentioned earlier, why IoT, AI, and blockchain became at least now easier for us to
No, but
adopt. Because,
IoT is definitely in use now in
yes,
almost every
yes.
industry, be it even the tertiary industries, they have started making use of IoT in everywhere.
Right. So that is because now cloud has become so accessible, so easy, so cost effective. Similarly, those kind of cost effective models have to come into picture for blockchain also to be more energy efficient in terms of the cost versus benefit analysis
Yeah,
comes into picture,
it's a
right?
cost
So
versus benefit analysis. True, it's
yeah.
correct.
Yeah, so that'll take some time, and it will definitely come in soon because that's where the whole industry is moving forward
No,
to.
but IoT has been definitely been in great
Yes,
use
yes.
in all over areas of supply chain. I can definitely vouch for that, because in all over right from the fleet tracking, or even for these the warehouse operations and other things. Yes,
Exactly.
you can say that, okay, because of the security little bit lapses and other things, people are not using it directly in the core areas. But yes, of course, in the non-core areas where it is repetitive and other things, and where there is a little bit of controls required, yes, you can definitely use, like the example of the door one that you said,
Yeah,
security
yeah.
controls and others. So these are minor issues which can be managed internally.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
Anshuman, I have not seen this thing catching up very fast as it should. IoT, I don't see anywhere. I mean, except for some track and trace application where mostly people are
No, the thing is,
still
even
stuck to
in
telematics.
yeah, no, telematics is there, but IoT, the people are started using, again, there's a scale. Not every company can afford it because of the cost and other things. And also you need to have a dedicated people to behind that show. But industries have started using it.
Actually, what we are expecting and what the market
In the
study
logistic
says in terms
industry,
of,
IoT is in use. As you said, right? Track and trace.
yes.
Track and
So
trace, even this fuel monitoring and so many
yes.
other things, you know, even these accident things.
So yes, actually, COVID-19, it might be one of the major causes. It could be one of the major reasons where new technologies could be, because now companies realize what happens when these kind of situations land on a particular day, and then they have to actually monitor and do things all remote. How will they do it? So there are production facilities in some specific production facilities, I don't remember where they're operating that whole production facility without humans. They had to operate, they had no choice, and they had to operate, and they are
What is called
operating.
Sajna, and answering to Sailen, just now something cropped in my mind. Let me just share with you, Sailen. I don't know whether you are aware of this or not. Maybe you can get it. You know, I remember Diva was working on one of the things where, you know, they don't need to go physically to do the reconnection of the line. You know, if your bill is automatically not overdue and not paid, you know, remotely they can sit and they can switch off the this thing.
Yeah, I think that's a very old application, but to the best of my knowledge, it was, you know, SIM card based. So the readings and all were being transmitted over GPRS.
Yeah.
And very crude, and I would say very old technology. Probably, I don't know if they've
even in telecom
replaced with smart meters.
Yes, with smart meters, it have changed actually. Even using GPS, even using GPRS is a mode of IoT. It's a type of IoT. But yes, now they have replaced it with smart meters, which is again using sensors and communicating it over network.
Sajna, thank you so much for your presentation. Really amazing, and, you know, kept everyone engaged. And you know, I also want to congratulate your work. You know, I posted about your webinar in the morning on LinkedIn, and in less than a day there were, you know, more than 2,000 views of the post. So I'm sure people were very interested. And so my last question is that, you know, is there a legislation happening around blockchain in any countries, you know, which can be taken as a model legislation and be followed by the countries?
Actually, yes, that's what I was coming to. UAE is one of the few countries who have started embarking on the digital journey as a government in general. So UAE is the first government which has a minister for artificial intelligence. So they have a artificial intelligence strategy. They are planning to utilize these technologies on a very extensive basis to become a smart government. So that's UAE is on that journey very, I would say, they want to be first in everything. They want to be first in this as well. So that's one aspect of it. Second one, you might be familiar with Sophia, right? So Saudi is also in that same area. They are also looking to adopt these kind of technologies to be part of their government legislation, as well as part of their government entities, to ensure that they use these technologies and consider themselves as smart governments. Similarly, again, blockchain. Actually, UAE have started using blockchain. If you're using Dubai Pay, then that is actually using blockchain technology to ensure that all the transactions are being done over blockchain. The Museum of Future, which is currently will be open in 2020, was planned to be open in 2019. I think it's delayed. Again, they are looking at making UAE a hub of all of these technologies. So what I see is UAE is one of the governments. There are other governments in the European region which they are, I don't remember the names, but they are also moving into that particular area, especially for climate change and for all of that kind of controls. But yes, slowly, governments are adopting. Again, as Mr. Anshuman said, investments to be done in that area is something that is preventing them, and also from a security concern. So many of the
Mainly it's
technology,
investment,
yes,
government can
mainly it's
afford,
investment.
yeah, but
It depends on the
private
governments as well.
private
Yes,
companies, unless you have the bigger scale, yes, okay,
yes,
maybe Aramco and other oil and gas companies, they can afford because they have good revenues and the scale. But yes, in the small run to do it, even logistic service providers, because today we had a conference, we had a webinar, in fact, a long session. I don't know whether you had the privilege to join in. It started from 11. It was a digital webinar in the Middle East, which commenced from 11 and it lasted till 2 p.m. Where we discussed so many things. And one of the biggest areas of thing is, the investors are shy to invest in technology because they want quick return on investments. And particularly in these COVID situations, where revenue drainage has happened, there is insecurity everywhere. Even as you said with the banks, if they were really want to use it, they would be able to capitalize on they wouldn't be into this kind of situations. You would have seen what was reported in today's bank. The quality of their financial assets is going down. I wish they would have taken advantage of this.
yeah. Situations like COVID-19 is something which nobody predicted. So that is why, again, now organizations are entering into the modeling parts. They are focusing so much on scenario modeling and trying to model many scenarios in terms of the natural calamities, be it earthquakes, be it these kind of calamities. Actually, COVID-19 is a very, very special case, as we all know. It is something which impacted the whole world. Generally, it impacts a natural calamity impacts a part of the world or a country, a part of a country. But COVID-19 was very special in terms of how it impacted the whole world, how it shut down the whole world. Yes, that is actually opening up the minds of the C-level executives to see how they can manage these kind of situations. And as Bill Gates predicts, this is not the last epidemic we are going to be in. But let's see how our industry and our economy will evolve in that process. So yes, to wrap up. Um, yeah, the IoT and AI will play a major role in post COVID-19 society. We'll have to see how that impact would be yet, because it's a very specific scenario we are in today, and that would be sometimes a defining moment for all of these disruptive technologies, and the utilization of these technologies in on a day-to-day basis. So by that I come to the end of my presentation. I would like to just wrap it up saying that with these technologies comes with great power, and how we use these technologies is very important. Let's put it into the right uses. Let's use it in the right ways, and let's use our responsibilities in the right way. So thank you so much.
Sajna, there is one hand hold. You can check that one. Hojefa Dohod, he wants to ask some question. I think so.
Sure.
Please go ahead.
Hi, Sajna. I actually joined, lately. I want to ask about what is the role of augmented intelligence in the supply chain management, and how do you feel how successful it can be in coming future? And will this technology can be available to all of the sectors in the market, all of the verticals, and how it can be useful in the supply chain management?
Okay, I'm not sure where you joined, because we discussed about digital twin in IoT. Were you there when we discussed about that?
No, sorry, I was not there. Yes.
Okay, so basically in IoT we discussed about the concept of digital twin, or creating a model of the physical asset, and using that model to simulate different scenarios, and also to make the decisions applicable on the physical assets. One of the use cases which we showed was how you can use augmented reality to look at your factory production line and see what's happening within that production line. Using the augmented reality, you can see the sensor information, you can see how much is the production, what is the production rate, and also you can push decisions back into the production lane, saying that, okay, please slow down the production process, because it is kind of it's not as per the demand, or whatever the situation be. So yes, augmented reality is currently being used especially in factories, and especially in terms of supply chain. Augmented reality is being used to monitor the production lines. I'm sorry, whoever isn't speaking, can you put yourself on mute? Yeah, so the augmented reality is being used in production lines, in maintenance. So there was one use case which I didn't show because of time, where you can use augmented reality. So since you asked me that question, let me show that to you. Oh, I thought because of the time I can just skip it. That was a good use case of augmented reality. So
as well as Service Cloud, and we've incorporated as well as Oracle Policy Automation. All of that combined into typically two kinds of augmented reality. There's location-based augmented reality, which is based on your GPS location, coordinates, and so on. And then there's marker-based augmented reality, where the physical device has a symbol on it, and you can, using a mobile device, you can scan that symbol, and as you watch an overlay, you can get all your IoT data embedded into the AR experience. So I'll go ahead and scan this symbol. And what it's going to do now, it's going to download all of the data into the augmented reality experience using the definition of what's encoded into that symbol. And now that I know what device it is, I can now visually control all of it in the cloud using the virtual overlay. So for example, here I see what device it is. I can see the serial number, the model number, the warranty status, when it was last maintained, and so on. And using an integration with Service Cloud, I've been able to query, using the serial number, what was the last known incident for this particular device. I can click on the reference number there and see what that incident was about, the number, the status, the subject of the incident, and so on. Now, the assumption here is that the slot machine is a smart slot machine, so it's outfitted with various sensors that are pumping data to the IoT cloud service, and leveraging visual 3D gauges such as these, I could now visualize what these sensors are telling me about the various components that are being monitored by those sensors. So as a slot machine technician, I've been notified that there's a problem with the machine, and the AR is telling me, as you can see here with this hazard on top, that there's something wrong with reel number 2. Okay? As a technician, I can look at the help option, and I can then consume Service Cloud knowledge in this virtual overlay. So I can browse a knowledge base, I can maybe access a piece of content and browse some how-to content, maybe look at some schematics, try to fix the slot machine myself using this piece of article, using this answer. That doesn't help. What I could do is click on this repair option, and what that will do is using the rules engine capabilities of policy automation and its ability to make decisions for me, I can walk through a series of steps, and OPA will then determine what to show me next. So in this case, it's asking me, do the slot machine reels spin? The answer is no. The next question is the top light flashing, and the answer to that is also no. So using the no, OPA will then decide to show me that the best thing to do is to replace that reel. So here we see a virtual 3D overlay that's showing me the cabinet in 3D space on top of the physical device, and there's a series of steps down here that will walk me through what to do. So I'm going to step through the process. So I can see here, you can see the door opening there, the levers coming off, the side panels coming off, and I'm stepping through a series of steps, showing the technician what he would want to do to fix that broken reel. So you can see the reel highlight there in red, that's the bad one. I'm going to need to remove it in the lock coil, and I can replace the reel apart and reassemble the machine, close the door, re-energize, and that is what I would need to do. Now, that was what I needed to do, but in order to do that, I need that replacement part, that reel. So this is a virtual dialogue telling me that I need to order that replacement part. And so what we've done here is we've done an integration with Commerce Cloud using the order button.
So basically, that's a use case of augmented reality in how to serve as a machine. Similarly, you can use that in production line to see whether the production lines have been functioning properly. Different use cases based on how the sensor data could be read and how the sensor data can be used, and how it can be. So this order replacement reel would then trigger a purchase order, which will go to the supplier, and then once it is received, service technician can come and do the maintenance. So this is just to give you a gist of what is possible from an augmented reality point of view. This is kind of a training for also the service technician who doesn't know what needs to be done. He can also see what steps that needs to be done to fix the particular issue. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sajna. So it was quite informative, as well as, looking into that, it actually boosting up me to, propose the solutions to the person who are doing service maintenance, especially those who are maintaining in the big equipments in the industrial areas, right? Where, this technology can be used very nicely, especially in the manufacturing productions and likewise, and even kind of an elevators or those kinds of companies where, there are a lot of services requests which are coming for the maintenance of the machines. So it was quite informative. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So that's the end of my session. If you have any questions, we can take it. Otherwise, we can wrap it up.
Yeah, just not as a question, as a last point from my side. Like I was listening to the discussion between you, Anshuman sir, and Shelan sir. See, any innovation when it comes up, like market will be a bit skeptical about it. The same thing was happening with when SAP was implemented. Like I still remember, when it was being brought in. So what I feel is, leaving aside COVID-19, it's going to pick up, like very soon. So because like even the service providers, they will have their own strategies to target the right clients. So who are really innovative, who believes in dynamics, market dynamics, and market penetrations. So hope it's going to like recoup, like as expected before. And thanks a lot. It was really wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Faisal.
So Sajna, thank you. We wish to see you once again back with more questions, more topics detailed on one at a time. Like
sure.
Sure. I know you had a short notice, but it was good, very well presented. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anshuman.
Thank you, Sajna. It was pleasure.
Abhijit sir, will you please hold a minute? Let them. Please don't go.
I was in fact asking Mr. Abhijit, requesting Mr. Abhijit, where is your question, my dear?
No, my question was related to seasonality, because that is something which happens with regards to that. And how is the machine supposed to know about the season?
This is the one that I have discussed. Sometimes you cannot pick it up from the historical data, where you have to go with the market dynamics. That is what we said, that you have to, the machine will do a real time study also.
See, that's where that machine learning part will come in, where machine also needs to learn from what's happening in the external world.
But we have to give the opportunity, you have to give that access to the machine to interpret what data, real-time data.
Yeah, no, as you rightly said, IoT has been used quite significantly and at smaller places as well. But anything beyond that requires huge investments. And in current COVID situations, people are a little averse to any new investment. Yeah. Thank you for a nice presentation. It was quite nice for me to learn about it. Thank you.
Please stay back, Mr. Abhijit. I think what he called Samir would like to share something.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sajna. And I think in a couple of minutes you will get the link for your session, so that you can post anywhere. And also you can, if you want to contribute over the website also, I think you already registered. Let me sign you as a contributor. Then you will log in from there and you can do it as I explained to Ms. Bala Ma'am. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you once again. And I'm sorry for the little, very short notice and unfortunate it is. So thank you very much. Anyhow, you have did very excellent job. Okay.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Samir.
Shukla sir, are you there?
So he left.
No, he's here. He's here.
Yeah.
Shailen sir. Abhijit sir.
Yes. Tell me.
Actually, I was trying to reach you, but maybe you are busy, so you are not able to see in our group messages also. As we discussed earlier, remember that we've been like expanding ourselves in a very aggressively. We did our website launching also last week, and I will share you the website details. Okay. And
Sure.
I want you to be as our as I said earlier also, like I'm going to propose the same thing in our board meeting. I did it already, so everyone is agreed for that one, and we are happy to to invite you in our board meetings as well also. So we will give you a prior notice. So I want you to have a little interactive. And I know you are busy, man, and I know that you will be little busy with all the happenings. So but I want you in the same time, like to be a part of our family, and to promote at your region, and wherever you think it's possible, so you can extend your services from there. And we've been extended our social network also. We've been registered in LinkedIn. We registered in what do you call this,
Facebook also.
Facebook. All everything is there. Twitter, Facebook, everywhere is there. So now it's already like huge. Already 455 people are there, and we want this to be a more and more, and also like a professional way. And as I earlier told about that, we have a 12 group of as admin a section who has assigned different stage of their responsibilities. So everyone has been elected as president as Mr. Shailan Shukla, and vice president as Mr. Vivek. And rest, like there will be one technical head who is called Mr. Mohan Vamshi. You can see here in him. And also and also executive heads, like the things where to take care about with the members, like Kiran and Girija Kotapalli. And there is 4 people who are in what do you call this, advisory admin section, where like Faisal, Mr. Anshuman sir, and Miss Bala. Okay, these people are there, so total 12 members. And now, as I requested them to give me a opportunity to add a one-on-one section by the each country wise. So as I earlier spoken to you already, so we've been accepted also. And then I was to send you the link and all those things, so that you can get into that and take your time whenever you are free, and start yourself from your side, advisors and all those things, so that we can see extent of longer life for this group.
Sure. Thank you, Samir, for inviting me for this. Yeah, I remember you speaking to me a week, 10 days back. As I indicated you, as we just started back after a 2.5-month lockdown in Mauritius, we were under tremendous pressure to manage the business activities after a huge gap. And that completely kept me away, working almost 12-13 hours as an average. So that obviously I couldn't participate much. It will happen for this at least 2 weeks of the new month also, around 21st, 22nd.
No problem. No problems.
Yeah, first 2-3 weeks, and once that's done, then the things will normalize. And,
I understood. See, I just want to have a because I messaged you, but I know that you are busy and you didn't notice that, and that too I don't want to miss you here, because once you miss miss here, then I cannot catch you back. So that's what. And then that too, the board members is also already here, so these people will listen.
We would definitely like to have your contribution in a big way.
Sure, Anshuman. In fact, I told Samir that there are quite a foot, because I teach with Amity University here, both their international trade and business strategy part. Yeah. So I have several of supply chain students there who would be interested in getting into it. Then some of them majority of them are professionals. So I can probably help you getting into the West African markets and the the African markets, which primarily are typically for the supply chain professionals in this region, we can propagate towards them as well.
Yes, sir. So thank you very much, for the acceptance, and I will share the credentials with you, so that you
Sure.
can be in touch with that, and just slowly after once the work is over, you can start interacting with the people, the group people and all those things. And one more
Sure.
thing I need to tell you is, like, we launched a website last week, on Wednesday, not even last week, this week Wednesday. So it's already running good. So if you can get it registered there, I will send you the details, so that I can put it the contribution section, where you can start writing, and you can posting your articles as a blog, for the rest of the world.
Sure. I would start doing that.
And
As I said, only for the first 2-3 weeks I will be a
no
little
problem.
tied up.
Take your time. Take your
But
time.
post that, yes, I have enough time then till September. Then I have enough time till September. Yeah.
No problem. So, but all I can say, we need your support from your region, as well as the region wherever you want to extend. You can extend from there, and
Sure.
all like professionally in one group, to get it help to all professionals.
Sure. I will definitely do my best. Positively.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abhijit.
Thanks, Anshuman.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the support.
Thank you, Faisal. I'll be there, positively there. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will share
have a
you
good,
in the.
Sure. Bye. Have a good
Bye.
evening. Bye.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Good evening.